Video games have come a long way since their inception in the 1950s. Some have won awards for being masterpieces of their craft, while others are failed experiments that will live on in infamy as pieces of garbage. But then there's a certain few games that where, no matter how old they get, they're still just as fun now as they are back when they first came out. Regardless of the march of progress of technology, they're still fun to play. And to me, no game deserves that title more than Super Mario Bros. This game is one of the most important video games of all time, and rightfully so. Its legacy has spanned 40 years of countless merchandise, TV shows, movies, as well as many other things. It has been a mainstay in pop culture for decades, and it has made Nintendo into what it is today. But what are my thoughts on the game? Can I acknowledge its historic significance while also acknowledging its flaws? Well, strap in, ladies and gentlemen, because this is my retrospective for Super Mario Bros. The gaming crash of 1983 left the North American video game market in shambles, mainly because of a combination of an oversaturation of gaming consoles, ports of games that were very rushed and not well put together, as well as personal computers getting far better. To the average consumer in North America, there was just no reason to buy a video game console. In Japan, however, it was a completely different story. Nintendo, who had recently just gained success with arcade games like Donkey Kong and Mario Bros., decided to release their first home video game console, the Family Computer, or the Famicom for short. It was an instant success in Japan, and by 1984 they had sold nearly 3 million Famicoms. Nintendo then wanted to bring it over to North America, but with the crash going on, they knew they were going to have to make some changes.
Let's work with me here. Ooh, I like it muy macho.
They changed the design of the console to make it resemble a VCR, as well as making it a front loader instead of a top loader. They also decided to rename it by calling it a entertainment system, as well as changing the cartridges from looking like this to looking like this. But Nintendo knew that a simple cosmetic design wouldn't be enough for it to sell. It would need a hit game. So they decided to call up Shigeru Miyamoto, the guy who made Donkey Kong, and they decided to take one of the characters from that game, Mario, who not long before had his own arcade game with his brother Luigi, and decided that his next big adventure would be for the NES, and it would be called Super Mario Bros. The story for this game is a little out there, but it's nothing too complicated. We're not talking about Lord of the Rings levels worth of lore here, but I figured I might as well go ahead and mention it anyway. Two Italian-American plumbers from Brooklyn named Mario and Luigi are out on a job one day as plumbers when they fall down a warp pipe, and they're transported to the Mushroom Kingdom, a land inhabited by sentient mushroom people called Toads. Mario and Luigi are then informed that the ruler of this land, Princess Toadstool, or Princess Peach, has been kidnapped by the king of the Koopa clan, Bowser. Peach! Who's used his black magic to turn the toads into stones and horse plants, as well as sending his minions to occupy the lands. And now Mario and Luigi must go on a quest to try to rescue her. You know, typical damsel in distress, save the princess stuff. But hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, am I right? Mario and Luigi's journey across the land will take them to many different places, such as grassy plains, underground caves, underwater, over bridges, over trees, on giant mushroom platforms in the sky, occasionally going into the sky to get coins, and eventually into Bowser's castle, where they give him the good old deep fry, if you know what I mean. So yeah, like I said, not the most complicated thing in the world, but its zaniness will definitely draw you in to want to see what happens next. Super Mario Bros., like many games of its era, is a 2D side-scrolling platformer. The objective of the game is quite simple: get to the end of each level, and then move on to the next until you get to the end and beat Bowser. In total, there's 8 worlds with 4 levels each, which brings a grand total of 32 different levels to play through. As soon as you start the game up, it'll instantly take you to the title screen. It doesn't have any story crawl or anything. Everything I just mentioned comes from the manual, which, considering this was a game from the mid-1980s, it makes sense. You'll also notice that it has an option to play as 2 players. Mario and Luigi play exactly the same. It wouldn't be until later games when Luigi would start having more defined characteristics. You don't play at the same time when you choose 2 players. Instead, you alternate turns. Whenever one player dies, the next one will take their spot and pick up where they left off. So it's more of a let's see who can get to the end and claim all the glory kind of co-op game. A variety of enemies will stand in your way between you and the princess, which include, but are not limited to, Goombas, Koopa Troopas, Paratroopas, Buzzy Beetles, Spinies, Lakitus, Hammer Bros, Cheep Cheeps, Bullet Bills, Piranha Plants, Bloopers, Lava Bubbles, and Bowser. While the variety of enemies you have to face may be a little overwhelming, most of them can be defeated pretty easily just by jumping on them. You're not completely defenseless in this game. Scattered across the Mushroom Kingdom are power-ups that will help make Mario more powerful in defeating enemies. There's the Super Mushroom, which lets Mario grow in size, take an extra hit, and break bricks. There's the Fire Flower, which allows Mario to spit fire, and the Superstar, which lets Mario become invincible for a couple of seconds. And then there's the rare 1-Up Mushroom, which gives Mario an extra life. There's also a decent variety of platforming obstacles that you'll have to overcome too, which include bottomless pits, pipes that you can go down, moving platforms, secret vines you can find which take you to hidden coin areas. At the end of every level you'll have a flagpole which, depending on how high you jump on, will give you extra points. Warp zones, which allow you to skip certain sections of the game. Bricks that you can break that sometimes house coins and power-ups.
But Kade, wait, didn't you say earlier in the video that the toads were transformed into stone? Doesn't that mean Mario is killing them when he's breaking them? That definitely makes him evil!
It should be noted that in that very same instruction manual, it says right here that the toads that were transformed into stones are the ones that award Mario with power-ups and coins. So no, he's not killing them, you freaking sickos. Whew, sorry, things got a little heated there. Why don't we talk about the soundtrack? That'll cheer me up. Accompanying this game is a soundtrack that has definitely gone down in history as one of the greatest soundtracks in video game history. Koji Kondo really had his work cut out for him, and I don't know how he did it, but he managed to craft some of the best video game tunes of all time, and a good chunk of them aren't even that long, whether it's the cheerful and bubbly overworld theme, the groovy underground theme, the mesmerizing underwater theme, and the foreboding castle theme. This soundtrack is definitely one of the best in gaming history. This is the part of the video that I've been dreading, but even a game as revered as this has flaws. So I'll just rip the band-aid off and just get it over with. First things first, you can't go backwards. Now, I know the reason why they did this, but I don't fully agree with it. Basically, the game was developed on a 32 kilobyte cartridge, which means they had to store up and save a lot of memory. Which means the game will use a technique called ratchet scrolling, which basically means whenever the screen scrolls right, things that go off the screen will be deleted from the system's memory. If they wanted to go backwards, they would have to reload the memory, which, considering they were trying to save space, they couldn't do that. Now, I could give them the benefit of the doubt of this, but when games that came out the very next year, like Castlevania, allowed you to go backwards, I just don't understand why they did it in the first place. I mean, an NES cartridge can store up to 1 megabyte of data, so I don't know why they couldn't just do this. Now, I didn't want to make it personal, but if there's one thing in this game I could never stand, it's the Hammer Brothers. I swear, Super Mario Bros. 1 Hammer Brothers are just built different. These guys will just endlessly throw hammers, and you could never find an opening to jump on them. Basically, what I'm saying is that they're indestructible killing machines, and I don't know why they're like this in only this game. Every other game before or after this, I've been able to find some way of beat the Hammer Brothers comfortably, but in this game, there's just no way to hit them without getting hurt yourself. But what's probably the worst thing about this game is that they like to reuse a lot of stuff. You have to fight Bowser 8 times, a lot of the levels are just repeated from earlier ones but just have harder enemies or slightly smaller platforms, and so many levels use the same overworld theme. Seriously, out of the 32 levels, 20 use the overworld theme, 2 of them use the underground and underwater theme, and 8 of them use the castle theme. I know it's a limited amount of memory they were working with, but you could have added a little bit more variety to the soundtrack. Now once again, I have to state, I could just give them the benefit of the doubt because it was only 32 kilobytes of data, but then again, with so much more space you could have worked with, I don't see why you could have just made it to where I didn't have to fight Bowser 8 times with slightly different obstacles in my path. The only difference between the fights is that 5 out of them shoot fireballs, 6 and 7 throw hammers, and the actual Bowser shoots fire and throws hammers. Ooh, as if I already didn't have to fight him 7 more times, this really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. And also, reusing levels, come on, this is just lazy. 7-2 and 7-3 are literally just 2-2 and 2-3, but slightly different. Like, come on, that's just lazy. Even though I was a little critical a few seconds ago, I want to completely acknowledge that this game is still considered a classic by millions of people. To this day, it remains one of the top best-selling video games of all time, selling over 58 million copies. The glitches in this game have become absolutely iconic, and the speedrunning community has sped-run the heck out of this game so much, you could literally beat this game in less than 5 minutes if you know what you're doing. It's cemented itself in pop culture, and it has definitely done so much over the past 40 years. Are there better 2D platformers out there? Yes. Are there better Mario games out there? Yes. Are there better fantasy-style isekai games out there? Yes. But none of those games save the gaming industry, and that is something that even a Mario hater cannot deny. Even though this game is 40 years old, it has stood the test of time, and in my opinion, I think it will stand the test of time for years to come.